It is a cold winter's night in the Australian colony of New South Wales. A woman rides hard through the eucalyptus scrub, her skirts hitched, a revolver at her hip. Behind her, troopers crash through the undergrowth. Ahead, somewhere in the ranges, her lover waits with a stolen horse and a price on his head. History remembers the Bushrangers as men: Ned Kelly, Ben Hall, Frank Gardner, Captain Thunderbolt. Their faces adorn the pubs and postcards of modern Australia, cast in iron and mythologized in ballad. But behind almost every one of these outlaws stood a woman, and sometimes she rode beside him. This is their story. The bushranging era spans roughly from the 1790s to the 1880s. It begins with escaped convicts who take to the bush rather than endure the lash. It ends in a hail of gunfire at Glenruin in June 1880. Across those decades, the colonies of New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania are haunted by armed men on horseback, and by the women who shelter, supply and sometimes lead them. The first of these women live in the shadow world of the convict system. Transporting from Ireland and England for petty theft, they arrive in a land where women are outnumbered 4-1. Some marry soldiers. Others become the wives, common law or otherwise, of bolters who vanish into the wilderness. In the Van Diemen's land of the 1820s, the line between settler and outlaw is often no thicker than a magistrate's signature. Consider the case of Mary Cockerill, known to history as Black Mary. A Palawa woman of Tasmania, she rides with the bushranger Michael Howe in the years after 1815. She acts as his guide through country the redcoats cannot navigate. When soldiers close in near the Shannon River in 1817, Howe turns and shoots her to slow the pursuit. She survives. He does not. Mary's story sets a pattern that will repeat for the next 60 years. The women who ride with bushrangers are almost always poor. They are Irish or Aboriginal or the daughters of ticket-of-leave convicts. They know the tracks and the creek crossings. They know which selector will feed a wanted man and which will send word to the police. Their knowledge is currency in a currency-starved land. By the 1860s, the gold rushes have transformed the colonies. New wealth rides the coach roads between Bathurst and Forbes. New outlaws ride to meet it. This is the age of the Gardner Hall gang, of the great Eugara escort robbery of June 1862, when £14,000 in gold and cash is taken in a single afternoon. And in the ranges above Forbes, a young woman named Catherine Brown is watching. Kitty Brown is the sister-in-law of Ben Hall. She is married to a hard man, John Brown, but her heart belongs to the bushranger John Gilbert, called Happy Jack. In the winter of 1864, she leaves her husband and rides into the bush with Gilbert. For months she lives rough, sleeping in gullies, cooking over hidden fires, moving camp when the troopers draw close. The Colonial newspapers are scandalized. The press invents a whole vocabulary to describe such women. They are called consorts, harlots, bushwives, and worse. Editorials in the Sydney Morning Herald demand that the law reach into the homes that shelter outlaws. In 1865, the New South Wales Parliament passes the Felons Apprehension Act. It allows a bushranger to be shot on sight. It also makes harbouring one a crime punishable by 15 years hard labour. The act is aimed at the women as much as the men. Sisters, mothers and sweethearts are dragged before magistrates across the colony. Some are imprisoned. Some see their houses burned by police. And still they carry the flour, the powder, the news. The bushranger cannot survive a single winter without them, and the authorities know it. In the New England ranges of northern New South Wales rides another such partnership. Frederick Ward, known as Captain Thunderbolt, escapes from Cockatoo Island in September 1863. He swims the harbour with the help of a young Warramy woman named Mary Ann Bugg. She is educated, literate, the daughter of a shepherd and an Aboriginal mother, and she is pregnant with his child. For 6 years, Mary Ann Bugg rides with Thunderbolt across the tableland. She dresses in men's clothing. She scouts the coach roads. She gives birth in the bush and carries her infants across the saddle. When arrested in 1866, she is described in court as being of striking appearance and remarkable intelligence. She serves her sentence, is released, and returns to him. She is, by any measure, a partner in the enterprise. Then there is the family that becomes legend. In the ranges north of Melbourne, in the district of Greta, lives a widow named Ellen Kelly. Irish-born, transporting in spirit if not in law, she raises 12 children in a slab hut with a dirt floor. Her sons are Ned and Dan. Her daughters are Maggie, Kate, and Grace. The whole family will become the beating heart of the last great Bushranger outbreak. In April 1878, a trooper named Fitzpatrick rides to the Kelly homestead to arrest Dan. What happens next is disputed. Fitzpatrick claims Ned shoots him. Ellen claims Fitzpatrick assaults Kate. Whatever the truth, Ellen Kelly is arrested, tried, and sentenced to 3 years in Melbourne jail. She is holding a newborn baby. Her sons take to the bush the same week. For the next 2 years, the Kelly gang is fed and clothed by a network of women. Maggie Kelly rides messages between hideouts. Kate Kelly, only 14 when the outbreak begins, decoys police patrols across the ranges. Aunts, cousins, and sympathizers hide flour and ammunition beneath their aprons. The police call them the Kelly sympathizers. There are hundreds of them, and most are women. On the night of the 27th of June 1880, the gang makes its last stand at Glenruan. Ned is captured in his homemade armor. Dan and Steve Hart die in the burning hotel. Joe Byrne bleeds out on the barroom floor. When the smoke clears, it is the women who must bury the dead and face the crowds. Kate Kelly tour the colonies giving recitations. She drowns in a waterhole near Forbes in 1898. What becomes of the others? Mary Ann Bugg outlives Thunderbolt by 35 years, dying in 1905 as a respectable matriarch in the Hunter Valley. Kitty Brown vanishes from the record after Gilbert is shot dead in May 1865. Ellen Kelly lives on at Greta until 1923, receiving visitors who come to shake the hand of Ned's mother. She is buried without a headstone. For decades afterwards, the ballads and broadsides scrub these women from the story. The bushranger becomes a solitary knight, a wild colonial boy, a man against the empire. The woman at the stove, the woman with the message hidden in her boot, the woman in the saddle at midnight, all fade into the background of the myth. But the archives remember. Court records, prison ledgers, and police reports preserve their names. In recent decades, historians have begun to reconstruct that hidden landscape. They have traced the kinship networks of the Kelly country. They have followed Mary Ann Bugg through the parish registers of the Hunter. They have found in these women something more than accomplices. They find a resistance rooted in poverty, in colonial injustice, and in loyalty to men the state had marked for death. It is a cold winter's night in the Australian colony of New South Wales. Somewhere in the ranges, a woman rides hard through the scrub. History has almost forgotten her name. But without her there is no outlaw, no legend, no ballad sung in 100 smoke-stained pubs. The bushranger queens rode into silence. It is time they rode back into the light.